Hello and welcome to another video on AVForums. I'm Phil Hinton, the site editor, and I'm joined today by Julian Scott. Jules is a calibrator, professional calibrator, does a lot of work with studio clients in terms of colour grading and that kind of thing. The reason we're here and the reason we're standing outside Abbey Road Studios is that this is a Philips event. Philips are asking us along today to have a look at the OLED+908, to have a look at the new sound system from Bowers & Wilkins, and also have a look at Ambilight. So we're going to bring you three separate videos from Abbey Road this week. The first one is PQ, so myself and Jules are going to head inside this world famous facility, and we're going to have a look at the new Philips 908 OLED TV, as well as Ambilight and the Bowers & Wilkins sound system. So come and join us here at this exclusive venue.
Welcome everybody, we're here at Abbey Road Studios to present to you our newest OLED TV, the OLED+908. It consists out of two major technologies. One is the Meta panel, which is the brightest panel, OLED panel in the market, and it goes together in perfect harmony with the 7th generation P5 AI picture quality engine to get the best sharpness, color and contrast. First of all, let me highlight the Meta panel. The Meta panel consists out of a brand new technology called the micro lens array, and that is enabling much more light output, more peak. Peak light goes up to 2100 at peak. The full wide is going up to 250, which is the highest in the market. The MLA consists out of convex lenses, 42.4 billion convex lenses, which actually result into less light reflection inside the panel, and that's why we can make more light coming out of the panel. And the second one is also the viewing angle is improved by 60% due to that. It comes together with a new polarizer on the panel called the Vanta polarizer, which goes for 70% less reflections. So more light, more viewing angle and less reflections. That's all about the panel. With the 7th gen P5 AI picture quality engine, we can optimize all kind of sources and content you are watching daily. Of course, it starts with the Filmmaker Mode, which is the how the director intended, and actually is without any picture processing. But if you like to see it how the director is suggesting that to you, we have that on board. We fully support that. We also are looking daily to different content in movies, for instance sports. For that we also have the ideal smart picture mode, and that would be, I think, not Filmmaker Mode, but your home cinema or crystal clear mode, because it gives you a much more crisp, sharp, contrast and colorful picture, thanks to the 7th generation P5 picture quality engines. And then there is also even gaming. So gaming is another example of content you're probably, maybe your children are using much more. They're not going to do that in Filmmaker Mode. They're going to do that in the smart picture game mode, which we also have on board. So there is a flavor of smart picture mode for everybody, starting from Filmmaker Mode as the director intended, and it goes all the way up. But one very special thing or important thing to mention is that all our smart picture modes are always the sharpness, color and contrast is done in a balanced way to stay as close as possible to the director intended feel.
Well, Danny, thank you very much for inviting us along to Abbey Road. It's a fantastic facility. Studio 2, the Beatles are #1 at the minute in the charts. They recorded, the vast majority of their catalogue was recorded in this very studio. You feel the history when you walk in, so it's very special to be here. Thank you very much. Now I do have an OLED +908 in for review at the minute, and the viewers will be able to see my unbiased opinion of that TV, as they always do with every one of our reviews. Everything gets tested the right way, and everything gets tested in Filmmaker Mode because our audience are into Filmmaker Mode. Now, Jules, your experience is with these facilities where they make films, where they make TV dramas and so on, you actually go in and calibrate their reference monitors. So just explain to the viewers what it is that you do and why you do things to a certain standard.
Well, Phil, everything we do in production and post-production is produced to certain specific standards. We have to be able to replicate that from location to location. You know, think about Avatar being made in all sorts of different locations. You need a reference for all the monitors that are going to be used so we don't get crazy things going on with colors and other attributes within the film. So those specifications we want also on the delivery end. When you're watching the TV, your TV, you want to make sure that you're able to see all the colors that the director intended for you to see. Otherwise you're seeing some other narrative, because color is an important part of the narrative of any content. So the ability for a TV to be able to be calibrated or set to those references in the home is also critical too. And Filmmaker Mode is it's a great initiative to be able to very easily set your display to those references.
Now, they're not bang on those references, and this is where you come in with your processing, Danny, because you appreciate that not everybody's going to have their set professionally calibrated at home, and sometimes people don't necessarily want that.
Exactly. I think what Joel said, and it's important to have the director intended look and feel for a certain environment to watch TV, just like in cinema when you watch it at home in a dark environment. But as soon as you put some light in your living room, or you watch that movie during daylight, then you might want to go away from Filmmaker Mode and get a little bit more. You paid a lot of money for your beautiful OLED TV, which can now produce, thanks to a meta panel, a lot of light output. And also, thanks to the 7th generation P5 engine, can do a lot of picture enhancements in a balanced way. And that can actually push your viewing experience to a higher level.
And Jules, do you agree with Danny's approach here with the TVs?
Well, absolutely. When you've got ambient light in the room, you'll need to adjust the TV accordingly. Your eyes are responding to the environment. We have to accommodate for that. Typically, I would be doing a bright room mode, a day room mode. I'd depart from a 2.4 gamma, is what we need in a dark reference environment. I'd probably look for a 2.2 gamma, and I'd be setting the OLED light accordingly to compete with the ambient light. So there are indeed, when we don't have that reference environment, we have to accommodate the ambient light within the room.
Now, I know a lot of you out there will be thinking, but Phil, you constantly hit us over the head with the fact that we should have our TVs in reference mode and we should have everything in Filmmaker Mode or professionally calibrated by the likes of Jules and other professionals out there. And you'd be right, because that's in a perfect environment, and I know Danny agrees with this. If you can watch things at a reference level and you want to see the films as they're intended to be seen in a dark room or with a little bit of biased lighting, then use Filmmaker Mode, or like you say, Jules, get the TV calibrated. But not everybody lives in a grading suite, do they?
No, I don't live in a grading suite. Sometimes my wife wants to read a book whilst I'm watching the TV, so she'll have a light on, and and that light may not be, it's not D65 that she uses. So, and I come across this quite a lot of times when I'm calibrating for people. It's like, can you do me a mode for when my wife or my partner's, doing the knitting or something like that. So what we want to do from a calibration point, we want to set a reference mode, and then we will have to accommodate other conditions accordingly.
So when we come to crystal clear, Danny, this is something which I think viewers do misunderstand slightly, because we have in the past called that vivid mode, and I think people have the wrong connotations when you talk about vivid modes, because you think about Joel's blue white, because you're pushing too much brightness and so on. So tell us a little bit more about crystal clear, because it was our forum members who said to you at one of these big events that we did with you, why do you call it vivid mode? Why not call it something else? So tell us about crystal clear.
Yeah, exactly. It was in one of the previous AVForums sessions that the idea came across my mind to change the name because it was actually the audience that said Vivid is a negative name, and so that's why Crystal Clear has been born. Now, Vivid and Crystal Clear, in essence, what we're doing there is we are increasing the sharpness in the picture, the contrast, the color, to match more the viewing conditions in your living room, but we do that in a balanced way. And that was the feedback we got also from the AVForums audience, that there's nothing wrong with our vivid mode when you look in a very dark, bright environment. With the name, they would never have gone to that mode because it looked vivid, it's over-exaggerating. But that's exactly what we're not doing. Yes, we want to give more to the consumer, but in a balanced way. And balance is a very important word, just like Filmmaker Mode from the director is also always very balanced.
There is a question, because you look behind us here, we've got your TV behind me, but we've also got two QD OLEDs here. And the reason for that is that you've actually looked at both of these technologies, MLA Meta technology from LG Display and of course Samsung Display's QD OLED, and you've got access to both of those. So just briefly take us through why you on this TV have decided to go with MLA.
Well, like you say, indeed, there are two technologies. We have access to both. We are all the time reviewing both technologies year by year to see which one we should apply in our TVs depending on the range. At this moment in time, we prefer MLA because of the brightness that comes out of the TV, the peak light and the full white, the 2100 net peak white, the 250 in it for full white. Of course, we also recognize the strengths that are inside the OLED and the QD OLED, and that is the wider color gamut. But given the two benefits for us at this moment in time, the light output is giving us an advantage.
Jules, there's no such thing as a perfect TV, is there?
No, I mean, you know, we've got examples here. We've got different displays here, and they have great attributes. Each one's got something about it which, you know, I like as a calibrator. So, you know, we're still evolving to that. I have actually just sitting here thinking about when I started, we were doing Pioneer Kuros. We've come a long way. These pictures, the panels here, they're awesome, you know. So no perfect TV yet, but, you know, we're getting some great TVs now.
Danny, will there ever be a perfect TV, or do you think, certainly the advice I give a lot of people is think about your use case. What are you using this TV for and what you want from the TV? Do you think it'll always be based on use case, that there's not one TV to rule them all, because it'd be impossible for a TV to do everything?
But because people are watching all the time different sources, different content, in different conditions, I think it always will change. And as we say, we're getting awfully close to perfect. But once we know what the weaknesses still are of OLED, it's the light output already tremendous in the MLA, but still we can go further. Actually, that's the benefit of a mini LED at this moment, that still they can produce much more light, where we with OLED can not do as much there, but then the blacks are better. So new display technologies like micro LED, for instance, is again combining the strengths of two technologies together, and will bring it a level higher. And that will happen or continue all the time. I hope so. Then I still can bring every year new stuff to the consumer, and we can sell new TVs.
Well, at the end of the day, yeah, you guys, you have to produce what the public want, and so on, and the technology is always moving on. And I guess one thing that viewers might be asking is why we have two QD OLEDs behind us and your MLA panel. So maybe you can explain to us and the viewers why you have this lineup here for us to look at today.
I wanted to show the audience a fair scala of what is there. So our products with MLA, and then two QD OLEDs from different brands. to show actually how ours is performing versus the others, and show the pros and cons.
So I guess in wrapping up the conversation here, and one thing we're noticing at the minute, because it's a video, we have to have lots of lights on, so you're probably seeing lights being reflected here. We will do some insert shots where there's no lights on. You can actually see the panels and what we're talking about here. But that does raise an interesting point that certainly I've noticed in my reviews, Jules, when shooting videos of QD OLED, because they don't have a polarizing filter, if they have too strong a light, the blacks do race very slightly.
Yeah, and certainly on this first gen QD OLEDs, for me as a calibrator, having any light in the room was a problem because it was causing fluctuations in my measured readings. So, and it is, as you say, we've got these strong lights, and it is noticeable that the panel, the MLA panel, the meta panel is got blacker blacks when the light is on it, and these are slightly greying out. So that's an important factor. If you're going to put your OLED in a brighter room, you don't want that grey screen staring at you. You know, you want the blackness of the OLED, and you don't want to give that up. So it is noticeable.
And was that a consideration when it came to choosing panels?
Definitely, like Jules says, I noticed it in the first generation, and I still see it in this generation, and that's also been one of the 4 elements that has been playing a role in choosing for MLA at the end.